Welcome to the show, gearheads. We just got to see Spa for 2025 in Formula One in a rain-delayed race and a win by Oscar Piastri ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. We're going to break it all down for you here. This is Jon Massengale. I'm in the studio in Austin, Texas, across from my friend Jonathan Green and Chris Medland, who is live at Spa. Jonathan, I'll start with you, buddy.
Yeah, it had the makings of a classic. It just didn't turn out that way. And what I mean by that was there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of jeopardy potentially with choices of tyres between the two at the front. But really, a bit like yesterday's sprint race, the real decisive lap was the first one. And as Piastri described it, it was lively, and he took advantage, took the lead and never really looked back. He looked so cool and calm.
And sounded cool.
On the radio, yeah, so calm.
Yeah, and Chris Medland, Lando kind of, he might have had a shot, maybe, had he had a perfect race behind Piastri on the harder tire, but he made a few mistakes, didn't he?
Yeah, there ones I think he's going to rue, actually, when he looks back at it, because he said afterwards there, didn't he, in this little interview that, well, Oscar, I'm sure, made a few mistakes as well, but we didn't see big ones. I think there was one I remember from Piastri, but Lando, I think, cost himself about 3.5 seconds in total race time from little errors we saw him make, and the margin at the end of that race was 3.4. Now, it did come down on the final lap by about a second because Oscar, I think, was cruising slightly, but yeah, I think that one's going to actually hurt a little bit more. It could have got really, really exciting, and it just never quite got there because of those errors.
Yeah, true. Yeah, go ahead, Greeny. I thought you were jumping in there, buddy.
No, go. I was listening. Actually, I agree.
well, look, the fact that Lando made a few mistakes. That's kind of been. If you had to compare the whole season, he's made a few more mistakes than Piastri overall.
I sort of been thinking about this over the weekend. I know it's the 75th year, but we are really witnessing a classic duel for the title. And I really do think it's going to go all the way because neither of these men is shrinking in any way, shape, or form. There's no weakness to be had. And you rightly say, Norris has upped his game, no question. But Piastri from last year has massively upped his game. So you really do have two guys. That qualifying lap still is in my head, that 800th of a second. And more importantly, think about this. I made a point of making a note of this during the qualifying. During qualifying in Q2, Piastri was 10th, knocking out Lawson by 0.7, and he was 0.7 off the pole, but he knocked out Lawson by 0.04 of a second, and then took the pole.
Yeah. In other words, he's just sitting back there going, I got this in the bank, man.
But what I'm saying is it's that kind of amount difference.
Oh, right.
He could have started out of the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chris, 16 points separate Piastri now back to Norris.
Yeah, it was a bigger gap, wasn't it? A few races ago, and Norris had back-to-back wins for the first time, and look, he did a good job in qualifying. But I do think we just see when it's really close. Generally, Oscar's execution is a little bit better, a little more often, and that was the case again today. So he's only getting stronger. It's the scary part about Oscar, isn't it? You've got to think, this is only his third season. And as we've run on some of those interviews from Silverstone, he's used to being in a title fight more often than not. He's had 2 years at McLaren where he wasn't in a title fight because the team were getting their act together. But this year, and then all of the previous years when he was winning junior championships, he was fighting for a title. So I think he looks very comfortable in this role, whereas I think Lando's still getting used to it almost. And he has upped his game, but he still has those little moments that those are the difference between these two. Like Johnny says, that's the level they're performing at, that we can point to a couple of small mistakes. You can't afford those if you want to beat your teammate.
And Jonathan, do you think that, the McLaren car is obviously the best in the field, right? Mm-hmm. And we've seen that pretty much all year. So is it the fact that their car is so good, or is it the fact that we do have two really, really great drivers battling for this championship?
I think I think both is true at the same time. Yes, the McLaren is definitely the best car out there, and clearly the Mercedes engine that they use is also very good. and they're taking advantage of it. They've come up with a car that just everywhere it goes. I mean, this is a good example. We broke it down yesterday. You know, you've got 3 distinct sections for downforce. The long section at the first section, and then the long section at the back, and then in the middle, all the corners. And McLaren, clearly, everywhere they put the car, it's consistently fast. But the same is true of the drivers. They are at the top of their game. They're not making mistakes. You know, you could point to Verstappen during his tenure right at the top. He was still, you know, there's still mistakes to be had, and he would make He would make stupid mistakes, actually.
Yeah.
He would lunge when he shouldn't and do things that he shouldn't. Hamilton has been in that position too when Mercedes were dominating, you know. So you're watching 2 guys that really just week in, week out. You never thought to yourself, oh, he's gonna throw it down the road. I said, here we go, Melbourne all over again if there was rain coming, because both of them got kind of kiboshed a little bit when that rain came down in Melbourne. And so, you know, I just think that their game since then has gone sky high.
Yeah. And Chris, you agree that this is, you know, what I'm getting at is thinking that these guys are so close. It's not just that their car is so fast. It's just, I think that just because these drivers are both really great.
Yeah, they are. It's great to see, isn't it, when we get standards like this? And it's good to just have a true title fight that's going to go all year long, compared to the kind of strange scenario of last year where we were hoping for one and it never quite happened. So
yeah,
it is one of the things that we do have to enjoy. And give kudos to McLaren. Right now I'm underneath the podium, actually, trying to keep an eye on where Zach Brown goes, because I want to talk to him after this one. But you also knew, as you're watching Lando trying to close down Oscar, that they were going to let the race through. You know, they'd allowed Lando to try something different. They weren't going to call off a fight. And, you know, McLaren is saying, we've got the car, so we're going to let the drivers go for it in the Drivers' Championship. And it might go wrong. It will go wrong at times. But it's better for all of us. And it means when it comes down to fans wanting to see, you know, the best driver win, they're getting more and more competitive races.
Chris, what do you think about the decision from McLaren, and why do you think they made the decision to go medium tires for Piastri and hard tires for Lando?
So I think they would have just gone medium tires for both if they were running the quickest way to the end of the race. I think they know that their tire life of tire management is very good. So if they went for mediums, that they probably would be okay. But I think with the timing of the pit stops being so early, they had suddenly seen that it was likely to stay dry for the rest of the race, and that maybe you might need to 2-stop. And you might need to make another stop if you started on the medium. Now, that's fine when you've got both drivers on that same tyre with the pace advantage they had. So it's just that Oscar gets to pit first because he had track position. So he was the priority, switching from intermediates to slicks. And he went and made that stop. And then the only thing left for Lando to do something different is to try a different tyre. I don't think it was a case of allowing, or you don't manufacture that. You just kind of say to the driver in second, look, you're boxed in here. You can follow your teammate. You're making a pit stop a lap later, so you're going to lose time. So instead of losing even more, and essentially he'd have come out 5 seconds behind Oscar on mediums, and you're saying try and win the race from there on the same tyre, you just offset it, give yourself a chance. I think that's just because he's already at a disadvantage. They allowed him for what was not necessarily the optimal strategy, but one that could turn out being something different, giving him a chance to win. And I just think that would have happened either way round. And that's just a team saying you're allowed to make that choice if you want to roll the dice a bit. It didn't work out today, but it did give us a little bit of intrigue as the gap closed.
You've kind of answered my question, which is, so the decision was Lando's rather than the team's?
Absolutely, yeah. Lando's side of the garage, at least. So it would have been Lando's. Sorry if you don't hear me over the music at the podium.
No, we hear you fine.
It would have been Lando's race engineer put the question to him very late, didn't he? Very late, saying, look, what do you think about it? I need a quick answer, because what he's saying then isn't that he was that close to the pit box. It was that the team needed to get the tyres out and pick the right ones to get ready to put on the car. So that's why they were giving them such a hurry up with their decision making. But it meant it was a decision that came from the team collectively seeing it was possible. And then they're saying, Lando, what do you want to do? Up to you. Because the hard tyre is 2 steps harder than the medium here. So it was a performance drop, but it was a guarantee to get to the end of the race. But in those conditions, I said it to you guys, didn't I, pre-race? I didn't think we were going to see the hard tyre used, because in it going from wet to dry, it was going to be tricky to get the heat in the tyres and keep the grip high. And a softer compound is better in those conditions. So it's a bit of a gamble, but it did mean he had to take it easy at first and ease into it, and then try and close the gap down later on if he could. But it would have been a decision made by the strategy team on the pit wall on Lando's side of the garage.
Fair enough. I want to ask you, Jonathan, about decisions made. Speaking of decisions made, the decision to delay the race start for so long. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one, especially when we all know what Spa is like, and when it does rain, and it can literally sit over the top. You heard Verstappen on the radio on the formation lap saying, "Why are we coming back in? Why not dissipate the water with the use of the 20 cars? So go round and keep going round with the safety car until it's at least drivable." You coulda, woulda, shoulda, as Norris would say. I don't know. It's a tough one. I wouldn't want to be in that position. But there's not a lot you could. I've got no criticism for the decisions. Put it that way.
Chris, there was a lot of people complaining, going, "Hey, do we not race in the rain anymore? Or why do we even make these these wet tires? I mean, what do you think?"
Let me hear you. Well, it was a tricky one because when you saw the sun out and the rain wasn't falling, then you're all going, "Why are we not running?" And then as soon as all 20 cars go out on intermediate tires and start running at the speeds that an F1 car can, the spray that was thrown up is way more than you think, isn't it? And you can't really know that until you send the cars out. But these are experienced people in race control. They are aware that visibility would be an issue. I still think they maybe took one lap too many before they actually said go once we went out by the safety car. But prior to that, actually, I didn't mind it because they were trying to make sure we got a full race in. They wanted to start a race and let a race happen. They didn't want to go, we'll start, then we'll stop, then we'll start, then we'll stop. Then we might have an incident that delays it even further. If that then brings you into worse weather later on, then you might not complete a full race distance. So the way they played it, the delay was frustrating, but it did give us the best chance and ultimately what we got of a full race. And it got the best conditions in terms of Formula One cars running in later in dry conditions, but starting off when it was wet. So you've got to kind of look at what the bigger picture aim was there. Just trying to position myself here to join a queue. I'm going to have to join a queue behind Sky Germany to do an interview with that round. So we're going to go away from the DJ set that's happening here in the pit lane and back into the paddock. But yeah, right now I'm out here. There's still some rain around, but it's largely dry, and we've seen a full race. In that sense, I think, and it was a clean race, it was a safe race. In that sense, I think they made the right calls.
Yeah, and I was calculating during the race itself, if we get 25%, it's 6 points to the winner and down to 1. If you get half the race, and so on and so forth. So to get the full 25 points for the win, because that could have been crucial for the championship, constructors and, drivers, because, the difference between getting 10 points or 1 point, let's say, big time.
Well, and the fans, you saw it. It's kind of fun to see the television coverage and the radio coverage, listening, but seeing the fans, you could see they were all excited. They were all in their rain gear, just jumping up and down. They were,
talking about jumping up and down. Nate Saunders was jumping up and down when the delay was declared.
I did tweet that he was right. I did tweet that he was actually proven right. That I called him out. And then it turned out he was actually got it right.
I feel responsible for that whole chain of events.
Hey,
it was fun.
I made a prediction that was completely wrong while we were watching it, just between you and me. I was like, we're going to see some cars off track. Everybody finished. We saw
that's wild. Except Hadjar.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to Hadjar.
Yeah, what
but
happened
he disappeared.
to Hadjar? Right? But did he finish?
No. Issue. Yeah. I thought he did cross the line in the end.
I thought he did.
He did have a car issue. So the team said they spotted one. They were going to look into it after the race. Now I'll try and find, if I've got it, provisional finishing order. And
well, it said out on my timing, so that's why I presumed.
On the official results on the website on F1, it says he was just down one lap. It doesn't say he didn't DNF. So.
Yeah, he did finish. He got lapped by the two McLarens quite late on, but he saw the end of the race.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess it happened early on, a few laps in, because something must happen because he started slowing down.
And why I noticed it is because at one point they were 8th and 9th here in Lawson, and so RB were about to score a haul of points.
Yeah.
So he made his stop later than Lawson, I think. I feel like he was the last one in, or one of the last ones in. I was trying to remember who it was. So Lando was certainly among the last of the 4 cars to pit for slick tyres, along with Esteban Ocon, definitely. And I'm trying to remember the other 2, but I think Hadjar might have been one of them, actually. And that's why they end up out of position, because it was 2 laps later, I think, than most others. And in that sense, you're losing a chunk of lap time for 2 whole laps. And you're in big trouble in terms of your track position. And as you guys have said, then it was hard to overtake.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a break right now, because when we come back, I want to talk about Lewis Hamilton's race, George Russell's race, Max Verstappen. We're going to get into the racing a little bit. Back after these messages. Okay, let's check in on YouTube. All right. I don't even have it up yet. Let's see. All right. We got all the usuals. Joe and Todd and Kevin and Nominal Times is here. Welcome, Nominal Times. He says Oscar is better and Lando had a botched left front pit stop. That's right. Absolutely. They showed a good replay showing the mechanics trying to get the wheel on, did not get it right. Cool looking trophy, Kevin Kelly says. Andy P's here. We missed you in the pre-show, Andy. I saw you jump in towards the end, but it says, good and fair move by Oscar. Just too many large mistakes on the Lando side. Yeah, but still Lando's best result here at Spa.
I'll go with it.
Expect him to have a better race in Hungary. Yeah. Kevin Kelly, good to see a good Ferrari upgrade. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. I'd love to get Fred Vasseur.
I mean,
Chris, any chance? It's harder to get the drivers. I know they're so in demand, man. I'd love to get Hamilton. I know that's a crazy pipe dream. He's probably got people all around him. Who else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's a lot to talk about. I want to make point of, you've already made point of it, but say point again of Hamilton and Ferrari's upgrade. That rear suspension, clearly working for Leclerc, and obviously Hamilton didn't get it right in qualifying, but look how he drove, and it was a pretty phenomenal performance in that respect.
Yeah. Hey, D. Nelson, good to see you, buddy. Bill Ricker. Agree. It's amazing to have them all finish away. Yeah, I was stunned, really. Andy P says, Nate totally got let off the hook there. All right, here we go.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you only get to pick 2. What if you could have all 3 at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How is it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/formula. That's oracle.com/formula. All right, gentlemen. Chris, just checking in with you real quick. Oh, Chris has dropped off. I think he must be getting an interview. So I just saw
Good.
that.
We'll take it.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
Driver of the day. I'm not even going to look. I'm
He
assuming.
is, yeah. Yeah.
Driver of the day for Lewis Hamilton. He started 16th and finished 7th. Pretty amazing. Not, he stalled out when he got behind Albon.
Totally. And I was telling you, I went on the F1 Pro and went on board.
Oh, Chris, is that you, buddy?
It is me. Sorry, I had to jump off to interview Fred Vasseur.
We look forward to that.
Well, we were just talking about Lewis Hamilton, so we'll get. Casey's going to get that ready, but go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, basically, I went on board with him and followed his progress once he got into DRS on Albon, thinking, okay, this is going to happen in the next 3 laps. Well, I sat there for 20 laps. Try as he might, he just couldn't get. He could get close at Kemmel, the end of the Kemmel, but that was it. He just couldn't get into a position to overtake.
Were you using F1 TV or multi-view?
No, F1 TV this time.
Okay. All right, well, we've got that interview that Chris just did with Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur.
Fred, a podium for Ferrari and a 7th place for Lewis Hamilton. That looked like a good day's work in the race today.
Yeah, that it went pretty well today in the race. That we had a tough start of the weekend, but at the end of the day, with the new package, we did decent step forward over the weekend. And on both sides of the garage, it went well today. That I think McLaren is still one step ahead. That probably that we are closing a little bit the gap, but they are still in front. But at least we maximize what we could do today.
Did you learn more about that package through the weekend?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you introduce something big like this on the car on a sprint weekend. But in the other end, we didn't want to postpone. And also with the condition, the weather condition, and so that to change so many times the compound, so it's not the easiest one to develop, but at the end I think it was the right choice and the right call.
And just a word on Lewis, the first few laps was incredible from him.
Yeah, he had a very good recovery. That we know what's happened in quali. It was tough, but at the end of the day the pace was good today. That we were aggressive on the strategy with the wings, and they are aggressive on the strategy with the pit stop, and everything went well. He did a great job to be able to overtake on the first 10 laps, and congratulations.
Oh, well done. Thank you, Fred.
I have to say, just listening to an interview like that, the difference between Ferrari now and 4 years ago, and no disrespect to those leading before who are making a comeback soon, Mr. Bonotti, but, it couldn't be more different. Fred is a very, very level-headed guy, and he will not let both the rumors and the Tifosi and everything else, they were calling for his head this week. And here we are. We're back on the podium and life is good and the upgrade's good and we did it in a sprint race and roll on. See you next week.
Yeah, let's face it, if Ferrari's not winning the championship, somebody's calling for the team principal.
It's been that way for
beginning of
75 years, yeah.
Back when they were stone tablets. Chris, we were talking about, right when you came back on, we were talking about Hamilton. How would you judge his comeback? I mean, was it? Look, he's coming from the back. He's going to pass a lot of people. How much credit does he give for that?
I think quite a lot. I mean, we didn't see a huge amount of overtaking, did we? We saw a fair bit, but not masses. We do have to remember as well he had the new power unit, and that will have helped.
Yes.
But again, he wasn't the only driver having that. And there was other quick cars in there that did not do as well as he did in moving forward. And I think it was just the manner of the way he went about his moves early on. He looked like a driver with confidence, who looked really comfortable actually in the car in those conditions in the first 10 laps before the switch to slicks. And even then, he was one of the first car into the pit lane to put slicks on. So in doing that, he was taking a bit of a gamble because he was flying at that stage.
Yeah.
But again, it showed that the team, they weren't getting carried away with anything. They were on it today. And to be honest, we quite often criticize Ferrari for getting strategic things wrong. We seem to be getting away from that. And then more recently, there have been a few more errors. But I'm going to call him out again. Nate Saunders, before the race, said, but have you got any faith that Ferrari will get the crossover point right and make that pit stop for slicks at the right time? Because someone had said about a good result for them being on the cards. And I agree. Most of us were like, probably not. But they got it nailed today. They got it spot on. Certainly with Lewis's car, and certainly with Charles too, actually, because he didn't lose a place to anyone either in that phase. So, hats off on that front. It was kind of as Fred was saying there, it was a good all-round team effort, the approach they took. But those first 10 laps in the wet, I thought Lewis looked like kind of Lewis at his best in that sense.
Yeah, it seems like a much better, given his downtrodden look of the last few weeks, especially, and this weekend. I mean, he was nowhere. I mean, look at the sprint race. Look at, out in Q1 twice.
Yeah.
They were nowhere.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, you said something in there about the power unit. He had a new power unit. Several did today. But what do you think that power unit is worth over the old one?
Ooh, tough one. Because you can run it a bit harder obviously it would be a bit newer, fresher, but you can also then just have it turned up a little bit more. I saw a comment from Ollie Behrman. I'm not sure we're going to get to speak to Ao Komatsu. I will try, but I feel like it's a missed opportunity for us today. But Behrman mentioned managing a power unit issue and having a bit of an issue with his engine. So when you're at a power-sensitive track like this, where top speed and power is very important, then a fresh one will help. I mean, maybe I'd equate it to somewhere in the region of a tenth and a half a lap, maybe. So it's not insignificant. You'd want it. You wouldn't give up track position for it normally, but in the situation he was in, you would. It's just another facet to that. But as I said, you still had the Mercedes that had been extremely quick in a straight line, for example, with Kimi Antonelli also having a new engine, and he didn't make the same progress.
Yeah. Moving on, before we do, but we had Vasseur there and we talked about Leclerc, but man, wasn't that just amazing watching him hold off the person I want to talk about next is Max Verstappen. But Leclerc was brilliant. And he had some pretty feisty radio messages back to the team too, going, hey, you're all quiet. And then when Max gets behind me, I know he's behind me, stop it, leave me alone.
I get it.
But what a brilliant race from Charles Leclerc. But
Max... it's funny, that race, like I said, it wasn't a classic, but there was some really very, very good driving. A 90-minute delay, that always upsets the sort of whole, preparation.
Yeah.
That Leclerc drive was very, very good. Like you say, Hamilton, top draw. But the McLaren boys, faultless. I mean, it's hard to do. 44 laps of Spa.
In conditions where we saw the cars moving.
Yeah.
The entire, up until the last 15 laps, they were still wiggling all around when they'd hit some of that water. So the fact
the only I have one question. What happened to Tsunoda? He was up there at what?
Pit stop timing. He said that the team called him in too late for him to get into the pits. He was saying he wanted slicks. They were like, "Yep, let's do it." And when they said, box for slicks, it was too late for him to get into the pit lane, he says. So he had to do another lap, lost in track position. Then he said he didn't have the top speed to overtake anyone, and he was stuck behind Pierre Gasly in that train. But that was a good defensive drive for a point in the end for Gasly. Tell you what, actually, talking of that train, I think there's some happiness here at Sauber for more points than Gabriel Bortoletto. But they pitted Nico Hülkenberg out of 10th place for a second stop, and he didn't get back up there. So be interesting to hear from them if I can grab anyone, whether that was due to any sort of issue or if that was just a strategic error.
Yeah. Yep. While you're waiting, Chris, I just want to touch on Max Verstappen. Obviously, he was on Leclerc's bumper for, I don't know, a dozen laps or more, maybe really more like half the race. But what do you think, Jonathan, about his race today?
Sorry?
About Max Verstappen. He was on Leclerc's bumper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said to you halfway through, it's a very quiet Max Verstappen today. I mean, he didn't do anything brilliant. He wasn't tearing up the track. He was being, I think it was a sensible race by him because he,
just didn't have the opportunity, really.
Right. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. I thought when I saw the start, I screamed. I was like, oh, he's got overtaken by Leclerc. And of course, Leclerc started ahead of him.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really much to talk about. We hardly saw him on screen.
Yeah, he had a couple of little looks at Leclerc. One time they were close to side by side, but Leclerc had track position for the corner. But that was about as close as he came.
Yep. I mean, all in all, when you consider the sprint race, good weekend.
Yep. Behind Max today in fifth was George Russell in the Mercedes. And Chris, I'll throw to you, and that way you can interrupt yourself if you get an interview.
Well, I can tell you, actually, I'm definitely not going to get one from Sauber because they've left. I'm watching them walk out. They've already changed and going. And that is one of the problems we get when you get a delayed race like this. I think some teams know that they're not making their transfers and their flights tonight, but some others have got a very tight turnaround. They're going for it because they get a police escort out of here. So the whole Sauber crew, as in their management, so Benotto and Wheatley and the chief race engineers as well, are all walking out of the paddock as we speak, as is Fernando Alonso, already changed and going.
Wow.
I'm right behind him. In fact, so is George Russell. You just mentioned George, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I might see. He might be nice. I might try this. This normally doesn't go well, but I might give it a go and just ask how he feels about that one.
P5.
Because George has got to run for a flight, I imagine, or a convoy. But George, are you happy with P5 today?
I'm flying with Fernando, so I don't know if he's left without me or not. Is he right there? Oh, he's in front of me. All right, that's fine. I need to be in front of him because I don't think he weighs too many people. But happy with the result, not happy with the performance is the truth. We need to understand why we've taken such a step backwards in terms of performance. We have some ideas at the moment, but we're going to sort of assess and go from there.
Can you turn it around quickly for Hungary?
Well, we are going to revert back on some of the changes that we made probably 6 or 7 weeks ago. So, time will tell. It's not straightforward, and F1 never is.
All right, fly safe.
Chris, I wouldn't have blamed you at all had you just said, "Hey, can I ride with you guys on Alonso's jet?"
Yeah, I know what the answer would have been to that. I can tell you.
You never know.
I also don't live in Monaco, guys. You've got to remember this.
Hey, who cares? you would have spent.
Yeah, you can walk the rest of the way.
Well, yeah, get on the plane with those two. I don't care where you're going. You can figure it out later.
Well, yeah, I've got a hire car to drop back. I've got my suitcase in the boot. I think I'd cause an international emergency if I would left all that unattended here at a racetrack.
That's true. But you know what? It all would have been worth it.
True. Great story it would have been.
Okay.
They're all heading out, though. I've just seen Gabriel as well after his P9. He's already on his way out. So Air Alonso seems to be doing a roaring trade tonight.
I think probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but because of the long delay, everybody's getting out quicker than they normally would.
Yes, and quite often we see them try and get out of here quickly anyway because of the police escort, the way they essentially try and hold back some of the traffic that's going to leave to let the VIPs as such and the stars of the show get out of here. And then they open up the roads slightly more for all the fans to try and get out. But yes, you're right. With that delay, I actually did think it might work for us a little bit and have a load of people that went, oh, well, we've missed that. You know, we can't leave until tomorrow morning, for example, or later on tonight. But instead, I guess when you own a private jet or you've sorted a charter, you can change these things, can't you?
Yeah, I know Max has a jet. I don't know if Alonso has a jet. He probably does. He certainly has the salary for a jet. All right, well, coming up right after this, we're going to talk about some of the other point scorers like Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Gabriel Bortoleto. Back after a quick break. All right, we're going to have to do the break without Greeny because he's got to go take Murphy out for a restroom break. Big black Murphy dog. Big black Labrador. He is a fun studio mate. All right, let's check in and see what the guys are going on YouTube. Andy P. Completely agree with Kevin Kelly. Lewis was great today. Yeah. I like to toss up those questions to Chris, even though I know the answer. Joe of Oyster Bay says he found the grip. Kevin Kelly, wow, Oscar 8 wins, same as Lando, Charles Leclerc, Danny Rick, and Jackie Ickx, who ran the checkered flag. Yeah, eight wins total. Yeah, there you go. He had clipping issues. We're talking about that. We were trying to get that clipping explained, and basically they're saying their terminology for harvesting is the way they were describing it on the television broadcast. But I think what they're saying is that it can only charge at a certain rate, because clipping to me, Casey, shake your head if I'm right. Clipping to me in the electronics world, it's kind of a hitting a ceiling, right? Like in audio. Yeah. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's hitting a ceiling. Chris, have you have any insight on that?
Correct. I believe it's when you've not got your deployment quite right, and you're essentially running out. Like you've capped how high you can go with your extra energy deployment. So the engine, he wants it to keep accelerating and keep pulling, but the way they've got it set up, it's holding back at that point to maybe save energy for later in the lap or to make sure it doesn't get to too low a level. But I'm pretty sure clipping is normally the frustration that a driver has is because there's more in there if they get the setup right or if they get the deployment right. And sometimes it's about the actual, the regen as well, if they can actually harvest enough energy to then use in the battery.
Here we go.
Hi, this is Karun Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
We're doing the show here in Austin, Texas, and you can have an opportunity to see some of the greatest racing. Don't miss the FIA World Endurance Championship return to Circuit of the Americas with the Lone Star Le Mans, September 5th through the 7th, 2025. Witness the greatest lineup of horsepower featuring world-class brands including Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, and many more. This September, enjoy 6 hours of racing with at Circuit of the Americas with not just one, but two Cadillac V.R series hypercars, gunning for glory in the high caliber field, featuring former Formula One driver Jenson Button and four-time Champ Car champion Sebastian Bourdais, and with 36 cars from big name brands like Alpine, Aston Martin, BMW, Cadillac, Corvette, Ferrari, Ford, Lexus, McLaren, Mercedes, Peugeot, Porsche, and Toyota, the world's premier endurance racing championship is ready to bring the spirit of the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans to Texas. You can see all the action at Circuit of the Americas starting Friday, September 5th. Get your tickets at thecircuit.com or the World Endurance Championship website. Jonathan Green, you and I will be on the microphones for that. That will be a blast.
It should be a cracker. It's never been more competitive. I had a long chat with Alex Lynn this week. We'll play that out for you, or it'll be on our website, and we'll obviously have it for the weekend of, and many others, I hope. And I was saying to Lynn, this is such a golden era for the sport of sports car racing. Never have we had so many marks, and never have we had so many high-level drivers.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll have that on a podcast on our YouTube. Speaking of our podcast, and Chris, jump in if you got anybody, but I want to thank everybody because our podcast downloads have skyrocketed. We moved to a new platform, and I was checking the stats last night. I mean, like 10,000 downloads in the last... for us, they scoured 10,000 downloads in the last week. That's
good.
That's pretty good for us. I think we're up to over 100,000 with this new platform in the last.
I might be jumping in, having got someone, but I'm not sure. We'll see if I can try this. I'm going to hover before I see if I can go. A quick question, was that because you're clearly in a rush? Zach, 1-2 at Spa. Was it ever tense, or was that an enjoyable afternoon?
A race like that's always intense because the weather was tricky. We weren't sure if the mediums were going to last. We weren't sure if the hards were going to last. But team did a great job. Both drivers did a great job. Mega for a slap like from Oscar, and great to have a 1-2.
What are the feelings when you're watching Lando try and close down the gap when he's taken a bit of a gamble with the hard tires as well? How do you want it to play out in that scenario?
I just want to see good racing, and we almost got there. So I'm a 1-2 from McLaren is what I want. It's up to the drivers to decide which order it's in.
You've let them off the leash all season, and it looks like this Constructors' Championship is heading your way pretty comfortably. I mean, we can almost start to try and work out when you could win that. So does that let you relax a bit in allowing them to fight it out?
Yeah, to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, we are not taking anything to the bank until it's in the bank. So we have a nice lead, but not nice enough. It's not over till it's over. But yeah, you can let them race hard, but that's been no different when we didn't have the lead. They know the rules, which is race each other hard and cleanly, and that's what they'll do. So I don't think we kind of change what we're doing because we have a larger lead, if you'd like.
Or just finally, I know you won't tell me who, what, where, when, and why, but cooking up something cool in IndyCar?
Yeah, I just hope I get my my racing license and my racing fits, and hey, it's 4 left turns. How hard can it be?
Yeah, you wish. Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
There you go. There's the big reveal.
Yeah, Chris almost jumped in to tell you to ask him about today. He's got Alex Palou on pole again, I believe, today.
Yeah.
He's got to be...
Palou, you say Palou's on pole?
Yeah. I think so.
Well, it's not him then, is it? That's the Ganassi car.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, no, but Pato...
Don't do that to me, guys.
Sorry.
I'm glad I didn't jump in.
That's actually my fault.
Nate Saunders me. You're trying to Nate Saunders me again, aren't you?
Yeah.
But Pato O'Ward has looked very quick all weekend.
So we've now made it a verb. You're going to...
yeah, we're going to Saunders you.
Saunders you.
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up!
Yeah, exactly.
I must say, actually, I can add a little bit more detail to certain things. Most drivers and team bosses have gone. I've watched them leave, running for these flights. But I managed to grab a word during our break off the mic with Nico Hulkenberg, who said that Sauber did not pit him out of a point. He didn't think he was making it to the end. He said his front left tyre was completely gone. He had to make a pit stop. He wouldn't have got there. So he wasn't too upset. A bit annoyed that he didn't then get back up to the points. That just didn't play out that way. But he doesn't think the team or he did anything wrong in that sense. So he was pretty calm and chilled about it. And he was heading back to use Air Verstappen to get himself home tonight rather than Air Alonso. So the other update I can give is who's on which plane, I think.
Well, you'll obviously be tracking them to Sardinia, etc.
Using FlightAware, yeah. Hey, Jonathan.
I try sometimes. It's the details that you guys really want, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the interesting stuff. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about some of the other drivers who scored points today. Alex Albon scored points.
Yeah, to be honest, for Albon's weekend, that was a really impressive drive because he was under pressure from Lewis the entire race, pretty much. Or when Lewis got there, I mean. But he didn't really put a foot wrong. And Williams had some upgrades this weekend too. They obviously worked.
Carlos Sainz down in.
Yeah, that complete. Yeah, it wasn't the same for him. But at the same time, Albon, I think, is really driving well at the moment. Yeah.
Yep. And who else scored points today? Pierre Bortoleto. Well, Lawson. We're only going to skip over Lawson.
Yeah, I was going to say of the sort of youngsters out there, that's been a really important result for Lawson.
Is he settling in now?
I think so. Yeah.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I also think, like I said to you, with the sort of removal at the top and with who he's working with now, Alan Permain, which he'll know very well, and the fact that Mekis also is a big fan of his, doesn't do him any harm. He's been in the press fighting an uphill battle saying, he just didn't get the chance at Red Bull, and it wasn't that a crisis of confidence had set in. He's really defending that, saying, look, I just get my feet under the table.
Yeah, he's not racing with a gun to his head, essentially. That you're going to
much better way of putting it, but yeah.
Kicked off the team. So it'd be great to see him, how this goes for him. So
I hear Chris.
Chris, you got somebody?
Yeah. No, I've got McLaren are giving me a cola bottle that I can eat. So I was taking a sweet.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
From another Chris actually, who works for McLaren. He's looks after a lot of their garage. So he just walked by and handed me a bowl of sweets and said, "Did I want a cola bottle?" So I said yes.
Right.
But on topic, I did want to jump in. That might be true with Liam, and the timing is perfect. That why don't we have a sit down with him in Hungary and find out? So I've got
please.
an interview with him lined up on Thursday.
Brilliant.
So we'll really get to put it to him. We'll play some of it out, I'm sure, during the weekend shows. It's normally being a Thursday, we chat about more timeless stuff than qualifying in the race itself, and then I do my normal running around and failing to get people around the actual sessions. But he will hopefully open up then in that sense about how it feels now and any differences. But I had a good chat with him earlier this weekend, I must say, but it was solely about golf. Well, golf and coffee. And he's getting really into his golf. He's just broken 100 for the first time. He loves it. He used to hate it. Now he loves it. He plays all the time. He's down in California playing as much golf as he can. So I think genuinely, I know it sounds silly, but I think that's helped relieve the pressure as well. He gets away from racing and he's got something else he's kind of obsessive about and takes his mind off it. The other thing was coffee, was that he was waiting for a coffee in this lovely free coffee stand we had in the paddock here in Spa. And he wasn't meant to be getting one. I shouldn't be telling you guys this, but the Red Bull drivers are not really meant to be seen with other caffeinated drinks because Red Bull's an energy drink.
Oh.
So you kind of you get a bit of a slap wrist if you're seen with one. But he'd come in on, I think it must have been Friday morning. I know.
Definitely, that is the shock horror gasp. We might
Friday
forget
morning.
the Nate Sanders problem.
We may have just gotten Liam Lawson fired. Thanks to you, Chris.
Exactly, I've outed him. But Friday morning, he really wanted a coffee. He had to wait ages for it as well. It was meant to be a quick stop, and that coffee hut was not quick. So he got surrounded by fans, obviously, and guests, people taking photos. And then at one point, genuinely, I was there chatting to him about golf, and he suddenly went, "Oh no, there's cameras on me now." And I think Sky were filming him just waiting for his coffee. And he's like, "This is meant to be quick, and no one's meant to know." And now I'm getting completely outed. So it's the fact he was already captured is why I'm sort of outing him.
See, now you're not really. You don't have to take full responsibility.
Boy, we've uncovered some stones today.
Yeah. Hard-hitting stuff. Sorry, I'm going to eat my colour bottle now.
Fair enough.
Okay, Johnny, 9 and 10 are Bortoleto and Gasly. Gasly just so consistent, isn't he?
Yeah, well, given what's going on around him, i.e. the team, is never stable. They're looking for a new manager director. There's rumors of other drivers like Antonelli potentially coming there. Are they looking for a new CEO since Ollie Oakes left? All that sort of stuff. And Gasly's, and then of course you've got the ever consistent kind of maelstrom of Colapinto. Is he? Should he? Will he? Stay, not go? What happened to Doohan? It's amazing actually how consistent Gasly's been amongst all of that.
He's in 13th position right now. I was thinking he would have been around 11th or around there, but it's Ocon in 10th, Hadjar in 11th, Stroll in 12th, and Gasly in 13th. So I don't know. I just felt like he's had a better year. And I guess if you put it in the context of what you just said,
that's how I'm thinking about it. It's when the team is just not is not rudderless. That's wrong. But when it doesn't have, it feels like with Red Bull and RB that both teams are happy with the choices that have been made to lead them.
Yeah.
And whereas Alpine, we still don't know yet.
Chris, Ollie Behrman finished in 11th. I know that Haas started 11th, 12th. I think that was Behrman who started 11th, finished where he started.
Yeah, but as I said, he was a bit frustrated at the engine issue that he had that he thinks cost him. And he was also then stuck in a DRS train as a result of that. I must admit, I'm completely freeloading off the F1 TV guys here because they're putting little summations of some of the interviews up in our group chat. So I can just go like, who said what if I haven't spoken to them? And Behrman early on, he said they were a little bit late with the first pit stop, but then said he had an engine issue which pushed them back, and then he was managing the issue throughout the whole race. So the car felt really good, actually, but he just didn't have the engine performance to be able to overtake, and that left him in a bit of trouble. But he's positive for Hungary because he says the car is clearly quick, and there's just maybe been a bit too many mistakes as a group, him included, or issues to manage that have stopped them from showing it. So don't forget how quick they were at Silverstone. He was really, really good there, but had that silly penalty for the red flag infringement during qualifying. Well, for practice, wasn't it? But it meant he got a 10-place grid penalty after qualifying. And that cost him a chance of scoring big points there. So, the pace and performance is good, both for Haas and for Behrman.
We may play Rate the Rookies here in a minute if we have time. But, Chris, the corporate office, the Speed City Broadcasting World Headquarters corporate office, was paying attention to the fact that you were slacking and copying off other people's homework. So we'll make sure that that's noted. That has been noted. It hasn't been sent to the steward.
Look at you with your British FIA hat on. It has been duly noted.
Duly noted, not just noted.
No, you have to be duly.
But everyone knows there's British bias, don't they? So I'll get away with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I tell you what, we will play Rate the Rookies, but we'll do it right after this quick break. Listen to Speed City F1. Okay, YouTubers, what's happening out there? Is anybody
Aston
still awake?
Martin,
Anybody
Kevin
still
Kelly.
there?
Kevin Kelly says Aston Martin are the only team not to score this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good on you, KK. Andy P says we don't need to be giving Red Bull or Racing Bulls any excuse to fire people. Yeah, they don't need an excuse. The wind could change direction and that could happen. Yeah, Andy P noted, but no further investigation. Chris, is it getting empty out there in the paddock?
Yeah, so empty that I'm talking to my wife.
Oh, good for you.
Has she forgiven you for jumping in front of her interview yet?
I'm not sure if she's forgiven me for what happened on the grid, but I actually even made the point. It was just terrible timing because she just appeared like Martin Brundle appeared just as we started our interview with Doran Mekis. And off the back of that, it meant that they were stood waiting thinking he'll finish soon. And they had to wait for the whole interview and they left. By the time I'd finished with Laurent, Martin had moved on to other targets. 83 seconds, that whole section, and that was too long for Sky. So we'll have a scrap about it tomorrow.
Johnny, did you find when does IndyCar start? I know you're scanning the channels. Did you find it?
No. Murphy's changed it to the dog agility, the dog agility program.
Cool.
That's on now, ESPN. No, yeah, absolutely. I love having worked for the juggernaut that is Sky Sports. I'm happy that this little entity that is Speed City can occasionally hold up the juggernaut.
That's great, isn't it? So I'm checking racers.com. I love their TV listings. You can check.
It's good, isn't it?
The TV listings, and you scroll straight to the bottom.
Yeah, Indies, I think, I want to say 12:30.
Let's see. IndyCar. Yeah, Casey said the dental drills for Formula E.
Oh, gosh.
Right now. 1 o'clock Central Time, so in an hour, a little over an hour.
Okay.
Race. Oh, wait, that's Indy next.
That's Indy next, and then Indy will follow, right?
Yep, there it is.
I'm Liam Lawson, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Got some kind of groovy, mellow. Oh, there comes some rock. He's bringing it up with it. There we go. All right, I said we're going to rate the rookies, but before we do that, real quick, let's just make sure we haven't missed anybody today. We had a good or bad day, but also right now with zero commitment, try Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for free. Head to oracle.com/formula. That's oracle.com/formula. Okay, so looking at today's results, we've talked about almost everybody. We haven't talked much about Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, but they didn't really have much opportunity to do anything.
If you want me to draw, I'm going to do both. I'm going to call out the rookies and call out a team.
Okay.
Sauber, Bortoleto, top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Hülkenberg's third place was kind of a miraculous result last time out, but Bortoleto's wasn't. He was quick. It was a genuine qualifying position. So for me, he's the top rookie, even though Lawson finished ahead of him. But, we've talked a lot about Lawson. Lawson's got more experience. Bortoleto has started to shine, and he beat his teammate who finished 12th. Not bad.
Yeah. And Lawson, you could argue, if he's a
not
rookie.
Really a rookie. Yeah. But no, very impressed with the way that Bortoleto's confidence seems to be coming now.
Give him an increase in car performance a little bit, and look what he does.
In the back of my mind, I've been thinking about Audi and how they're inheriting potentially the worst team. But it seems to me now that Wheatley and that team and Binotto have really got their head around it. And I was listening to both Binotto and Wheatley talk about just how it feels like they're a well-oiled machine, which was what he wanted to achieve before handing over the reins to Audi. Because I was worried for Audi, given their expectations. They've been waiting on the sidelines for many years now, having said they're coming in. And, up until 6 months ago, that team hadn't scored points.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to play this clip from Bortoleto. This is post-qualifying yesterday, because he said something really interesting about his concentration and everything. Let's hear from Gabriel Bortoleto yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need luck sometimes, and I feel like I'm a lucky guy. And today happened to me that Hamilton lost his lap, obviously, and I managed to go through. I have not made my best Q1 lap, and I feel like when I realized that I was going to Q2, I just said I need to take this frustration out of me right now, because I was very frustrated at the moment, and I said I need to put it aside, focus on what I can do better in Q2 and give my best, and honestly it worked out perfectly.
That's a life lesson for no matter what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Just remove all that anxiety and whatever's going on.
Well, when you pull it apart, I always call it the 10,000 meter rule, which is once you look down on whatever problem you're dealing with, you go, God, that's really not that big a deal, is it?
I know. It's like you and us going, why can't we grow Speed City faster? And then we look back and go, okay, we started the company with 0, and here we are doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
We can't complain. Chris, what's happening, buddy?
I am heading back down the stairs in the paddock to try and see if there's anyone left actually here, because I did see Gabriel leave as well on what I assume is Air Alonso, seeing as it's his manager. But I did want to pick up on what you just had him say, because it also highlights how close Formula One is, certainly in terms of qualifying. And he didn't get it together in Q1. He essentially should have been out based on the lap that Lewis did. He really would not score points today, or very unlikely to. And we'd be talking about, not great from Bortoleto. Instead, or maybe we wouldn't be talking about him at all, and he wouldn't be getting any kind of coverage. But instead, that opportunity that afforded him, he did take it fully, gets a good qualifying position, does a really good job in the race as well, capitalizes on it, gets points. It's very, very impressive. And I think there's something I've learned about Gabriel, actually, that I would say I'm not sure how it's going to end up playing out, but he can be very emotional.
Sure.
I've seen him be very emotional as a Brazilian driver, but he seems excellent at channeling that or understanding it, being self-aware of that emotion, and then turning that into a positive much more often.
That's a powerful thing that somebody can do that. It's powerful.
And that's either going to really stand him in great stead moving forward and going to put him in a great place, and we're going to see him do really special things, or every now and then it's going to catch him out, and we're going to see just a few times where he's got to learn to kind of manage it and control it. But so far in his rookie season, I think we'd have to say it's the former, isn't it? He does seem to be really on top of it.
Yeah, there's a guy racing in Indy Next. You mentioned Indy Next coming up. Caio Collet, very similar disposition. Brazilian making his way. Got a win yesterday. His first of the season in a championship that's been dominated by Hauger. And so two sort of ex-F2, F3 guys making their way here in the States. But, Bortoleto reminds me a little bit of Caio Collet.
All right, let's keep rolling down the list here. Esteban Ocon at Haas. He went from 12th to 15th. I think maybe pit stop timing. Who knows? I didn't really see any.
He was annoyed. I'm going to cheat again and copy homework. But I've seen that in his interview to F1 TV, he was saying that the pit stop timing was poor. But it wasn't just that, actually. It was the fact that, as I scrolled to find his quote, he said that the team got today completely wrong. And said that they had decent pace, which was showed when it was dry, but they were on old tyres when they had a set of new tyres available. And so they did 2 stop, and they made the second stop too late, basically. He said, stayed on the first set too long, lost too much time.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Lawson has now gone ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in the Drivers' Championship by 2 points. And those two are old friends and hard rivals.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good catch. Okay, next.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know about the second Red Bull car, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because whichever driver's gone into that has not been able to score points. Whoever's been in the Racing Bulls has been able to. And, I think that's great for Liam. But at the same time, Yuki, I wouldn't blame Yuki on that one.
Oh, no, not at all.
All right, I want to talk. Kimi,
I actually think it was a decent weekend for Tsunoda overall.
Overall, yeah.
Yes,
Kimi
absolutely.
Antonelli is next on this list. But before we jump there, just thinking about, we're so lucky right now to have McLaren. Imagine if we had a one-driver situation, how boring it would be right now. But
we've been there.
Yeah, I mean, right. Imagine all the way back to last year.
Yeah, I'm literally keeping my fingers crossed that this really does go all the way, and it remains as fun or Zach Brown-like. We're letting them race.
What did he say? It's awesome. Everything is
it's awesome.
It's awesome. But
I mean, it's going to go down in history when he gets to Christmas. He's going to be pretty happy, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay, Kimi Antonelli, we talked a lot about him in the pre-race show and talking about how his crisis of confidence, I guess is the phrase that's used. And he had, and
I didn't see a bit of it.
I didn't see it in the race, but I love the way that these guys are just freely talking about this kind of stuff. It's
very
so
healthy.
Different from when you and I were growing up, and race drivers were, they were hard and masculine, and they would never let a veneer of anything through. So.
Showing some vulnerability. There was no question. He went into this weekend feeling it a bit, I think. And you asked me the question, what's happened to him? And I said, I think he's just got the reality of realizing that, his position, you come in all fresh-faced and everybody loves you, and then suddenly you're up for debate whether you're staying at the team or not. So I think today he proved a lot, actually. I watched him very closely, and he drove superbly. I mean, he went past Alonso as though Alonso was, standing still. I know it was a bad weekend for Aston Martin, but even so, the confidence that Antonelli exuded in that race was really impressive.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I think that was important for him, wasn't it? Because of the admission he's been making, but also because he can just build on that a little bit, and he can take it forward to Hungary so soon. So, if that had been a tough race as well, and he's in a bit of a downward spiral, he's not got long to get out of it. Instead, he's got something to latch onto. But I do wonder as well if there's a little part of it now playing out, as we talked about pre-show, that, the impression I'm getting is that it's likely George Russell gets a multi-year deal and does stay at Mercedes and gets pretty much locked in. And it means if Verstappen goes there in the future, it could be Antonelli's seat that would be the one that would go. That must be, at that age, tough to take. Because you just have that extra bit of doubt at the time that you were struggling already.
Yeah, and of course, but like you said, Jonathan, you had a good day today. You didn't see it. Maybe it's the advice of a combined 16 world championships between Lewis Hamilton
and Valentino
Rossi. Boosting his confidence.
You could tell, and I mean, Chris will, I'm sure, confirm this. He's a chirpy chappy. He's a nice guy. You want to sit down and chat with him. And I think, you can see whenever there's a camera on him, he's chatting to somebody, and usually another driver. So, he is doing what a good youngster should, which is just being a sponge, asking all the right questions, getting all the advice because he's friendly enough to want to get it, rather than standing in the shadows and sort of, kind of waiting his time. No, he's getting amongst it. And I warmed to this kid. I was a bit, not sure about his relationship with Toto, and he'd known Toto since he was a kid, and so it was a Lewis Hamilton kind of feel. But I've got away from that, and I really like him now.
Yeah, I do too.
Totally agree. You're right. He's very positive, very likable, very open, and I think he's going to go a long, long way. And I think that is actually what Mercedes had seen. But at the same time, we've got to keep saying it, haven't we? You mentioned them, rookies. Rookies make mistakes. Rookies go through tough patches. They have to. And if Oscar Piastri was in his rookie year, the gap he had to Lando Norris then was pretty significant for a lot of that year. And if that had been with this car, we'd be talking about him underperforming, or McLaren needing another driver, or there'd be pressure on him.
Yeah.
So you've got to be allowed time to develop, because look at the level they can hit, with a bit of experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point.
I'm just going to check in with YouTubers real quick. Andy P says apparently Indy Next is on hold. There's more fog in Monterey. Kevin Kelly said Ocon's whole family was there this weekend. I saw Lando's mom. Who else did we see?
Lando's mom. Definitely the both mom and dad for Ocon were there.
Yeah.
Gasly's as well. Gasly's parents were here.
Oh, yeah.
Antoine Hubert's mum, Natalie,
Yes!
she came here because it's the venue that Antoine was killed at, and we did the run for Antoine.
that.
I'm amazed she kind of
stunned
wants to come
I know.
to the race.
That's what I was saying. I don't know how you could. I guess you just have to move on, but I just...
I'd like to say, I think it's because of the support they've had, and the fact that they do feel that support from the motorsport community. She wants to come and kind of accept that and be part of it. So it's always been a really nice touch. But yeah, I saw her. She was stood up at the point where Antoine had crashed, actually, when we did the run for him on Thursday evening. It's a huge number of people from the paddock all wearing the same T-shirts running the track. And she looked less emotional as such in terms of recalling the incident or anything, but more just as the support she was getting. So, that was actually quite a nice moment.
That's probably her reason for feeling like she does need to show up, because people are honouring her son.
Yeah.
So she wants to represent.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're out of time. Thanks to Jonathan Green, Chris Medland, Casey Johns, our producer, and all the guests you got, Chris. Wow.
Awesome job.
Thanks to all of them. And we've got Wheel to Wheel coming. Chris, anything special for Wheel to Wheel this week on Wednesday?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll get Johnny or Bob to step in with us or something. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week and next weekend.
Happy trails.